Hello everyone. Welcome. I'm Evan Abrams, and today this is your video creative challenge. We're going to be doing a little bit of rotoscoping, which I hope is going to be a good time. I hope you're going to enjoy it. This is a bit of a complex process, especially when we're jumping from Premiere into After Effects. That's what we're going to do today, and hopefully by the end of it, you're going to be very comfortable with doing this process. Rotoscoping is also known as just putting stuff behind things. It's a way that we isolate subjects from footage, which I hope is going to be a nice, easy process for you. If you have any questions during this stuff, do let me know in the chat. Hopefully I'll be able to see them. Hopefully I'll be able to observe those wonderful things going on. And yeah, that's the idea for today. But yeah, I guess without further ado, let's get into it. Let me show you what we're going to be working on, and hope it goes well. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, give you a little preview of what we're doing. Share my screen here, so that should be up. And here's a nice little example. We have this wonderful bird. We got this bird, says kingfisher. The word king is behind them. I think that's the type of bird that it is. At least I hope it is, or it'll look very silly for our bird aficionados. And yeah, let's hopefully we're going to get it in there. Now, I'm going to go to a simpler example. This example here. And you can see that the bird is moving around. The bird is in front of the thing, and that's what we want. So we've got a bird. They're hanging out in front of the word bird, and that is great. But how do we accomplish this kind of thing, right? It's a little bit dicey sometimes. I've got Premiere open. We've got some footage. If you want to follow along, if you want to use the exact same footage, you can come and enjoy that. Use the link down in the description. That'll get you the exact footage that we've been enjoying, that we've been using. So that'll be a good time. Let's see. So I'm just going to come here. I'm in my project. I'm going to grab my bin called footage right here. And hey, Cody Bear, how are you doing? How are you doing here on YouTube with me? Just great. Okay, so we've got our footage, like I said, and I'm just going to drag it over onto the Create New Sequence button. Now, if you're working on a larger project, if you are producing something that's nice and long, maybe this is an intro shot, maybe this is a shot that fits into a sequence of other shots and only one of them is going to have this happening. If you're doing a travel vlog, maybe you kind of walk in front of the camera so that we can put the words behind you. Whatever it is, we have a subject and we want to isolate them from the background. Now, the thing that we really want to do is sort of create a sandwich out of these. Oh no, and I guess we had some glitches today on Behance and people couldn't jump in, but we're all here now, which is great. It's going to be good. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a little sandwich. So the theory is we're going to create one clip that is going to be our background, and that's everything. All right. And we're going to create another clip that's going to be our foreground, that's going to be just the bird. And then anything we sandwich between them, yum, 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 delicious sandwich, that's going to appear between the two of those elements. So one of the easiest ways that you might think about doing such a thing, I'm just going to hold down Option, duplicate this layer, and split it out like that. And then let's see, I might take our text tool here, type out here, I'm going to type the word beard. Sorry, I injured my finger, so typing is going to be bad for me today. But please don't hold that against me. And we're going to have the word bird. And we would want the bird layer to be between these two layers. Therefore, we need to cut this out. Right? Now, in Premiere, we could do this by coming into our effects controls, twirling into opacity, grabbing our pen tool here, and then being pretty, I'm going to make a pretty good job of it here, selecting around the bird, something like this, right? And that would do it, right? That would select this element here, and then we could slip things in behind. But that's actually pretty cumbersome. That's a lot of work because we would then have to update that mask on every frame, which is actually the manual process called rotoscoping, which is when we're sort of manually adjusting a mask, adjusting the boundary about what we keep frame to frame in order to make this thing happen. It's a lot of work. It's in fact too much work. And I'll be honest with you, I've gotten a little RSI from my career doing rotoscoping. This is back in the day before before the advent of Rotobrush, which has saved us so much time, so much energy, and so much physical pain. So but this is the theory. Right. Now, there are many ways that we could select. Of course, masks aren't the only way to go. I'm going to go ahead and just delete that mask. And I'm going to come into, I'm going to find our effects. And often, if this was, say, a green screen project, right, we could select all of the green and make it go away using something called the Ultra key, which I'm going to call up Ultra key, which you can drop onto footage. And then you can select whichever color you want to remove, boop, say the green, right? And this has actually done a pretty good job of removing a lot of that background. Now, unfortunately, the unfortunate thing about this, right, is that because birds, and of course I chose the subject matter of birds to highlight this, blend in with their natural environment, Ultra Key doesn't do a great job of isolating a bird from the forest, right? Hard to isolate a tree from the forest. Harder still to isolate a bird from the forest because they're naturally meant to blend in. So an effect like keying, any keying effect, isn't really going to get us there either, which is why we know we have to use that manual process of rotoscoping. But don't worry at all. I'm going to delete this stuff, I'm going to delete this other stuff, and we're just going to come back to just have this one clip on the timeline, and I'll show you the way we solve our problems. We are going to select this layer. We are going to right-click on it, and we are going to say Replace with After Effects Composition. We are going to go to After Effects, the cousin of Premiere, right? They're a little bit strange. They've been abroad. They've been going to a technical college. So After Effects is a little bit more niche. So whenever we want to do something really intense to one clip, we probably want to replace it with an After Effects composition. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I already have After Effects open. But if you don't have After Effects open, this will pop open. If you don't see the option to replace with an After Effects composition, make sure that you have After Effects installed. So crack on open your Creative Cloud, come into the Video tab, scroll on down to After Effects, where we will create visual effects and motion graphics. Indeed, that's exactly what we're going to do. So that's what we're going to get into. I'm just going to tuck this away. And if you're not familiar with After Effects, if you've never been in here before, don't worry. There's not that much to deal with, and if we keep it simple, we'll be very safe. Right now, we have a composition open. Right. Now, this is a composition called 02 Roto Linked Comp 04. You can see that written up here at the top. You can also see it written at the top of this tab here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and close my other tabs just so it's not confusing. Right. But basically, we've imported these two elements here into an After Effects file, right? And if we go ahead and we just hit save, we return back to Premiere, you're going to see right here that clip that was once purple, or bluey purple on here, is now a nice bright pink. And it's telling us exactly, oh yes, this is that linked comp. You can see it written out up here as well. There it is, Roto Linked Comp. That's what this is called, because this is now a footage element that lives on our timeline here in Premiere. Now, this is why if you're cutting this together, you want to make sure you've got your clip shortened up to exactly what we want. Right? This is exactly the thing that we want to be working on. We've replaced it on our timeline with the affected version here. And now if we tab back into here, you're going to see if I do something in here, like call up our text tool by going Command-T and typing in birds, exclamation point, like this, 2 exclamation points, of course. And this is a nice, bold, active, grotesque. And we're just going to put that like there. I'm going to hit save. We're going to return here. I want you to look at that. It has been updated. So anything we do to this composition will be updated back in Premiere. All right, now to really do the work. Remember, it's sandwich time. We want to make the sandwich. Oh, yes, you didn't realize that rotoscoping was more than just hand-drawn frame-by-frame animation. Well, rotoscope-type animation, as you might see in... Actually, there's some really interesting movies that you might want to check out. I'll find a list of them later. But it's a really interesting style of animation. And in fact, if you go to very old Disney, we're going on a bit of a tangent, but if you go back to ancient Disney movies, there was a lot of like tracing of actors to produce the type of movement and animation. Look at things like Snow White, for example, and you'll see that kind of rotoing stuff. But let's make our sandwich, right? I'm going to rename this here to bread. and I'm going to duplicate it, Command D to duplicate that. And now we've got bread 2. So we've got bread, and birds in the middle, which is a little bit weird. But we just need to select only the parts of this layer that we want to stay on top. Therefore, I'm going to double click on it, and we've moved into layer mode. So you can see now we're in the composition, now we're in the layer. I'm going to click up here, I'm going to grab the Rotobrush, Option W, we'll call up your Rotobrush. And now you can see we've got this nice big green circle, right? And I'm going to scrub through on our timeline to sort of around the middle point, right? Somewhere in the middle. Don't want to be at the edge, don't want to be at the other edge. Let's start in the middle. And with my green brush, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the thing that I'm interested in, just on the subject. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and you can see there's a nice pink line that's been drawn around this. Right, I'm going to keep drawing a little bit more, maybe a little bit down here. Let's get the tree branch in the mix here. Oh yes, ooh, and we've got a little bit of a mistake. So I'm going to shrink my brush size, which is holding, in my case, Command. And then I'm going to switch to the negative, which would be the Option key, and try to paint away. I'm going to try to paint away this part. Oh, now I need to put the tail back. I'm going to put the tail back here. And you see we're running into this kind of ambiguity area, this ambiguous area down here. So you may have to come in and do a little bit of refinement work. You might have to be a little bit specific, but it pays to be specific. It pays to be specific here at this early thing. Well, hey, it's always good to see people coming in. And if you have any questions, also let me know. Let me know in the chat if there's any sort of questions that are sort of popping up in your head as we go through this, right? Okay, so we're gonna get this here, and again, we're gonna get the brush nice and small. Switch into the remove, chip away, chip away, chip away. Come down here. Now I'm being a little finicky. Right? I'm being a little bit finicky because this part of our entire object of the bird is not going to interact at all with any text that we put behind them. So let's pay a little bit more attention to the face up here. Oh, we missed some of these feathers, so I'm going to paint that in. I'm going to paint in the beak. Make sure that we really get into the tippy tip of the beak here. Bring that in, get that hook in there. We want that detail, right? And now we're just going to zoom out a little bit and have a look. So what's the most rotoscope I've ever done? There was a piece in which this was a corporate piece, but it was a lot of people's hands interacting with products. I did not like it. It was bad. But I used a lot of Mocha, which is another wonderful plugin. Shout out to Mocha. Mocha AE is an effect that's installed. Give it a whirl. So in here, right, we've got this nice pink line. I also want to call your attention right down here. Umacorn, thanks for hanging out. Always happy when people can hang out with us when they are able. Okay, so the other thing I want to call your attention to, right? We have this pink line, which is, let's remind ourselves, this pink line is what has been selected. In fact, let's go back to the composition and look how well we've done on this one frame. We're nailing it. This is amazing, right? Look how good a job I've done. Well, look at how good a job that the computer has done. Let's not take all the credit. And if I solo this layer, right, you can see, oh, that's exactly the bird that's been selected. I'm going to turn on my transparency grid here so you can see, oh yeah, pretty well cut out bird. Not going to lie. Let's unsolo that layer. Let's get back to work in here. And in fact, I won't be doing too much of the work. The machine will be doing some work. So right down here, again, let's look down here. I hope you can see this gray bar with all these chevrons, right? You see how it goes backwards and forwards. This is the region, this is the span that the Rotobrush is going to try to cover. If I click backwards in time, Rotobrush is now propagating. And I want you to look at how nice of a job it's done. It's got a nice solid propagation, but honestly, the bird is not moving very much. So we're not really challenging it in a huge way, but oh, here we go. We've got a little movement on the bird. Now, I don't know if any of you out there are birders, but I just want to look here. See how the bird's head is moving, right? And the outline of the bird, this pink line is moving with it. So it's doing a great job of sort of sticking with the form, right? It's not deforming away from it in a big way. And birds move very quickly. Frame by frame, they move very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to propagate forward and backwards on this. And we're going to ask it to just do the rest of the work for me, right? If you don't mind, if you don't mind, would you please do the rest of the work, right? In fact, we might go all the way to one end, and we're going to let that bar kind of go through and try to propagate all of the frames for us. So, 171 frames. Wouldn't that be unpleasant? Wouldn't that be so unpleasant for us to have to do 171 different drawings of that? Oh boy, I can feel my tendonitis flaring up already, right? And now I'm going to go back to the other side. Let's get that propagation going. Now this is working because there's some artificial intelligence going on in the background. There's a lot of pixel comparison, right? We've told it this is what we're interested in. This background is what we're not interested in. So the machine, the algorithm is able to parse out, this is bird, this is not bird, right? What would we do without technology doing the things we tell it to? Oh, we'd be in trouble. We'd be in a big spot of trouble. The Luddites would finally have proven us wrong. But you can see, even with the bird breathing, it's doing a great job. So I think we've nailed it, right? Before we consider ourselves to be done and finished with this, you want to press this freeze button. Cache and lock Rotobrush and refine edge propagation. I'm going to click that button, and what it's going to do, it's going to basically repeat the same process that we just did, but it's going to lock it in. It's going to commit. So we're going to say, this is what we want it to be. This is how we want it to go, right? Now, the other thing that's important to know is that because we're freezing it, this is going to move sort of out of our RAM buffer, right? So before it was kind of filling up, it was filling up bits of our hardware, filling up our cache with this stuff. And, you know, that is not great, especially when we want to go to render it and preview it, because it's going to have to propagate it every time. So, you know, hopefully that is going to save you a lot of frustration. This particular step of the process, very critical, very critical. Always, always, always freeze your Rotobrush. Freeze your Rotobrush. Freeze your Rotobrush. And I know we've been making a lot of sandwich jokes, but, you know, just remember, we want to make a sandwich. First, we have to freeze our bread. That's not, maybe that mnemonic will help you. I don't know. But here we go. Drum roll, please. We're coming into the final stretch. And done. Okay, excellent. So this bar has now gone blue. So it has been frozen, right? Rotobrush. Now, we're going to come in here. I'm going to have a peruse. Now, you can see how the edge looks, right? I'm going to get in here. And the edge looks pretty crispy. It's a pretty crispified edge. Now, what you can do is you can come into the effect controls here, and you can say, hey, let's bring the contrast down. Let's bring that down to like 50%, right? Let's have less contrast on that edge. Let's give it a bit more feather, right? Let's feather that edge a little bit. So we've just bumped that up to 20 pixels worth of feather. Maybe I'll bump that back down to like a 10 or something like that, right? So we're just feathering, pun intended, the edge here, right? And you can also shift the edge. So if I shift the edge inward, yum, 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 it's kind of, you can see that it's pushing out from the bird or it's biting into the bird, right? And we can use that to kind of massage our selection a little bit. So even if the propagation isn't particularly robust or it isn't as exact as we want, you can use this Rotobrush matte here selection to fix us up a little bit, right? So maybe that will get us where we want to go. And now if we just play this back, you can see that the places where the bird interacts with the objects, it's doing a pretty good job. Now, we do lose some crispness around the bird's beak. The bird's beak has disappeared. This beautiful little hooked beak on it. Now, what I'm going to do, let's say we wanted to touch this up. Maybe the Rotobrush made a mistake. Maybe we want to help it do a little better, right? I'm going to click the freeze button and we're going to unfreeze. We're going to move the propagation ahead. And what I want to do is I want to find the moments where this kind of falls off for us, right? So you can see how kind of wobbly this is, right? How this isn't sort of exact. So let's just go ahead, let's touch it up by being a little bit more exact, right? Let's do that. Let's just go ahead and do some paints, paint it in. If you want to get even more exact with this, if you want to get even more more critical with the edge, come up here and we're going to use the Refine Edge tool. Now this Refine Edge tool, we're saying, I need you to look a little bit harder. I need you to look a little bit further on the edge. Now, as soon as I've painted this, you can see that we now have this little black and white overlay that's coming on top of here, right? So we have black pixels and white pixels. The black ones will be totally they'll disappear. They'll be transparent. And the white ones, those ones are going to be opaque. And the gray ones will be somewhere in between. Now, as we move forward, you can see that that black and white area is also being propagated. So if you wanted to expand this detail everywhere, right, then you're going to need to paint over the areas that are special to you, right? But you can also say, let's just give a base radius, say, of 3 around this entire creature here, right? And that will push our Refine Edge radius out. And that means that we'll then be using these controls here of smoothing, feathering, changing the contrast, and shifting the edge in order to refine the edge around that black and white area. It's going to take a little bit longer to propagate, but I tell you, it is worth it. And you can use your brush tool in the same way, adding and subtracting to areas where maybe the search needs to be a little bit broader or a little bit thinner in certain areas. So hopefully that can help you to figure that out. We're going to go back to, I'm going to hit save. We're going to go back to here so you can kind of see, and I'm going to take our birds. Oops, I'm going to take our birds layer here. We're just going to move that behind so you can see what a nice job. Look how exact and wonderful that little hooked beak. Oh, we can see all the little details in there. You can spend as much time with it as you'd like, really. And in fact, I encourage you to do so. Spend a lot of time with it. Get to know how it works and what's happening and what all the bells and whistles are. And when you're done, when you've got this thing propagated the way you want, you hit freeze on it, right? You're going to hit freeze. You're going to turn it all blue, right? Then we're gonna hit save on this, and then we're gonna return to Premiere, right? We're gonna return to Premiere, and then this will update. Drum roll, please. And there we go. And then it'll update in here. And all of those things that we've done in After Effects have now been condensed. They've been condensed right down into this one footage element. A word of warning, though. Notice how this bar up here has gone red, right? Quite red, in fact. This is sort of a danger zone. It's saying, hey, watch out. This thing needs to be rendered. So if you're ever finding, my playback of areas that have linked After Effects compositions in them isn't going so well, make sure that you hit enter on your keyboard and you will see that propagate. You'll see this go green. Green is what you want. Green is good. And that's what's going to help make that happen. Other things to sort of be aware of, right? If we just go back into here, into our sandwich zone, the sandwich zone, After Effects, you may want to consider sticking other things behind here. You're going to want to work all of your settings down here. But if I can just go over the process really quickly one more time, it is bring into After Effects, right? We bring footage into After Effects by right-clicking, replacing with After Effects composition. We create that sandwich by duplicating our bread, sticking things in between, and then we cut pieces away from our bread, and that will give us our final result. And I hope that you go ahead and create lots of interesting results as well. We want to see them. I want to see them. So play with the materials we have, go on Adobe Stock, grab some things from the free pile, and, start rotoing things, put stuff behind things, share them with us on Discord. We want to see it on the Discord. So links to the Discord are down below in the description. Follow us for more challenges. Stick around here on Behance because there are going to be more interesting things going on. There's people streaming all the time on here. So stick with us all day, every day. And of course, come back tomorrow. I've got more challenges for you tomorrow. We're going to be sticking entirely in Premiere tomorrow. So, our time with After Effects was brilliant but fleeting. And I hope you've enjoyed it. So thank you so much for being with me. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you want to find me on the internet, I'm at EC Abrams. Find me on Twitter. Find me on Instagram. Find me here on Behance. And this is where we can connect. Ask me anything about After Effects. I want to help you out if I can. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow. Until then, stay creative, be kind to each other. Bye for now.